So, everybody, I want to just talk about Fat Buck and Pancake Head, which is the South Park episode with Jennifer Lopez. And I also want to give a shout out to my friend Dash Reacts. He has been reviewing a lot of old episodes of South Park and also concurrent episodes and also like the first season episodes. And I really love his content. And he just did Fat Butt and Pancake Head. So I wanted to do a bit of a review and analysis. And I also want to say check out his channel because Dash Reacts. He has a good sense of humor when he watches it, and he also will show you the references behind a lot of the stuff in South Park, and also some hidden Easter eggs and hidden jokes. So with the episode of Fat Butt and Pancake Head, it starts with Cartman, Kyle, Stan, and Kenny going to a school assembly. So Kyle gives a speech about Latinos and the arts, and he's very professional about it. He spent weeks to practice, and then Cartman does it, and he does a mouth puppet of Jennifer Lopez. So he kind of makes fun of how Latinos they say ha, and like when they say Jennifer or Hennifer, how Latinos can't say words correctly. That's a stereotype. And then saying that she likes tacos and burritos. And then also, too, that her dress is very slutty. So you're seeing three stereotypes that, Hispanics like tacos and burritos, that Hispanics wear slutty clothing, and Hispanics can't speak correct English. And he ends up winning the talent show. And it's kind of revealed that the reason why he entered into that no it was not a talent show, but it's like a competition for like the best paper, best report, and he wins $20. And there's two reasons, and and the reason why he did that ultimately was just to screw over Kyle. But I kind of feel the reason why the writers had him win was two reasons, just because it adds to the humor of the absurdity, but it also is a statement about like how a lot of people are not educated about Latino culture. Because really, like when I went to school, all you there was no talk of any Latino in history. Like the only time you ever talked about Latin America was when the conquistadors were conquering Mexico, and that's that. There was no. I don't even remember talking about. I don't remember anything about not the Mexican Civil War, but also when the Mexicans and when Mexico invaded Texas. I never studied that in school. Like I know like there was a Battle of the Alamo and all that stuff, but you really just taught the Civil War, and like you were taught the Civil War in the 1800s, and then after that you really just taught about slavery and all the other things that happened with the American economy and robber barons and all that stuff. But really, there's no Latino culture represented a lot in American public schools, especially when I went to school from the early 90s all the way until 2010. And so it's very understanding that a lot of people get their education about Latinos through stereotypes. And maybe that's a satirical reason why Cartman won. And then the next thing that I will say is that later on in the episode, that Jennifer Lopez puppet, that Cartman hand puppet that Cartman does, wants to do a music video at the mall, and you know, she talks about like the border, wanting three tacos, two tostadas, and a soda pop, and also she has very broken English, and later on Cartman comments that Latinos have a very simple style of music. So I kind of like all this because obviously, even though he is, and even though like he is even though it is like kind of like a blackface type of thing, except he's doing more of a finger face type of thing, it's still very very funny because we all know that while it is ethnically offensive, it is satirical. It is satirical of how people stereotype Latinos, and that's what it is. It's not ethnically offensive against Latinos. It is more so talking about how people look at Latinos as in a very stereotypical way, and one of the stereotypes is that people just generalize their music generalize their music as possibly talking about dancing, and their love for like tacos and burritos and tostadas. And I also will say that there's one thing I also like with this, that Kyle says that that Cartman's speech was stupid and racist. And that's another great thing too, because Latino is not a race; it's an ethnicity. So you can say it's ethnically offensive, but a lot of people think Latinos is a race. It is not a race. I actually just looked it up. It's the same thing with like how people will say that, if you say something like, Chinese people are COVID carriers, or all COVID came from China, and stay away from Chinese people. That's not racist. That's actually, that may be that may be ethnic, if I'm saying it correctly, or that could be nationalist, if I'm saying that correctly, because Chinese is a nationality. So sometimes people get ethnicity, nationality, and race kind of confused. But either way, you shouldn't stereotype people. Not all people from China have COVID, or they're responsible with how they, or you can't just blame Chinese people for COVID. You have to kind of blame the Chinese government and how they handled it, and also their failure of food sanitation and other things. You can't blame Chinese people and be anti-Chinese. The same way, when you look at Latinos in America and other places in the world, you can't just associate them with stereotypes, because that's offensive, because that's very unfortunate. And a majority of the episode is just satirizing Ben Affleck and Jennifer Lopez, like saying Ben Affleck has no talent, that Ben Affleck is kind of like a simp, that Ben Affleck kind of misses maybe Jennifer Lopez when she was younger and nice, and that also Ben Affleck is into Jennifer Lopez very sexually. So it kind of also has the other stereotype too, that Latino women are very, very sexy, so people only look at them for their sexuality. And almost like when you marry a Latino, that's Latina or Latino, that some people just are more into their bodies because they are also super sexualized, which is unfortunate, because there's more to Latinos than just having a nice skin, than just like a nice tone of brown. But sometimes people just, are like, okay, well, I just want something, I want to marry something exotic, Like in a lot of the blaxploitation films, you look at Pam Grier in Coffee and in Foxy Brown and other movies, where she kind of, or Black Mama, White Mama, where they did a lot of just trying to make her this sexual black creature. And sometimes people do that with race and ethnicity, is that they try to just sexualize it a lot. Like if you type in on a porn search, there's black porn, there's Latina porn, there's like titles like Dirty Mexican, or are pounding a Puerto Rican, or other things like that. So it is concerning that we still objectify different ethnics of people and races of people sexually. And it also makes fun of Jennifer Lopez. Like, it kind of says that she's entitled, she's a diva, and she has an anger issue, or issue with violence and jealousy. And those are also like two things. Those are also kind of maybe true to the person. I haven't done my research, but it's also true as a stereotype to Latino women. The same thing with black women, that you go after their man, sometimes that the stereotype is that they're going to respond with over the top violence, because you see that on the Jerry Springer show, and you'll also see that more in the Maury Povich show, like how Maury Povich features a lot of black people doing, reacting violently. Or even on Jerry Springer show, like Jerry Springer show more shows white people, but it's still like, the stereotype that that minorities or poor white people respond to conflict inappropriately. And that's really kind of the whole episode. I think that, this is one of the funniest episodes, because I think that when you watch it, yes, it is a huge satire on Latino stereotypes. And I also think that it's also successful because it's also making fun of Jennifer Lopez and how she sings, and also her just bad attitude. So I kind of think that when you have all those things, it's kind of like, it's a satire, and it's definitely like a hybrid satire, because are you watching it to look at Latino at how Americans satirize Latino stereotypes, or I'm looking at it as how they satirize Jennifer Lopez, because they're trying to make both points. And then also too that at the end that Jennifer Lopez doesn't have a movie career, so she's working at like a taco place. So that's also another stereotype that Latinos can the only job that Latinos can get is making tacos and other things like that. So I really think that this episode really captures a lot of just a very unfortunate way we look at Latinos and Latinas, and sometimes too when we look at celebrities who are Latino and Latina, sometimes it's so easy to see them through the eyes of stereotypes. And also too, like, with Ben Affleck and how they showed him that he was kind of very lustful for Jennifer Lopez. And it also shows that, sometimes we may marry a certain ethnic or a certain race because we have sexual kinks, and we associate that ethnicity with sexual desires, and that's not always good. You have to also love the person as well. More so love the person, because I think like everybody tries to marry somebody that they find sexually attractive, but in addition to making sure that person is right for them, that's kind of like a good relationship. You get a bit of both, but that's all I have to say about this episode. It's definitely an old one. It's a classic. To me, it's one of the top 20 best episodes of South Park, one of the funniest ones. And I definitely also think that it's also a good satire on Jennifer Lopez's behavior, and like how South Park can call out a celebrity who's, just a mean-spirited bitch. And men can be mean-spirited bitches as well, or other genders as well outside of women. So, it's a good episode. Cerebral.